What I see in terms of urbanization trends in Metro Vancouver really are a continuation of what we've had here in Vancouver for decades. You know, Vancouver was ahead of its time in terms of dealing with urbanization and densification in our urban cores. We've been leading the country and in many cases leading North America in terms of urban planning at higher densities. Certainly the work that's been done over the last several years in terms of transit-oriented development here in Metro Vancouver is where we'll see a continuing growth for the next decade or more. We need to expand our transit system out through greater distances in Metro Vancouver in order to densify around new transit and in order to create some greater affordability throughout the region.
Well, I think the densification is something that we're not going to get away from, and in fact I think that's something we're going to see a lot more of. We may already think that the skyline is full, but if we compare ourselves to other world cities, I think we have a lot of room to grow up and obviously very little room to grow outwardly, so certainly densification. I think we're going to have to see some increase in purpose-built rental. There's some challenges around that obviously, but we clearly have a shortage of rental housing in this market, so I think that's something we're also going to be able to see over the next foreseeable future. Some trends that I'm seeing in the office user world are some large tenants looking to own office rather than have small strata office. The users are now looking to own buildings, which is a trend I think we're going to continue to see on a large scale as well.
For Vancouver, I think it's going to be taller. We're going to have to build up. Densification is going to mean that we have to do more with less. We'll see a lot of infill developments, smaller floor plates, smaller suites, and taller buildings, something we'll have to get used to.
Well, I think Vancouver, like all world-class cities, and I'll put Toronto in there as well, it's just going to be more. It's going to be more densification, more intensification. Land prices in both Toronto and Vancouver, and I'll talk about Toronto because I'm a Toronto guy, are making it such that you have to go up, and that's what we're seeing. So we're going to see pressure on municipal governments and on zoning to allow for that density, and I think that's going to be a big trend. And I particularly think keys there are transit and LRT. And we in Toronto, you've done a very good job with the LRT system. We are trying to get better at it in Toronto. And so I think in Vancouver, absolutely you will see more densification. You will see larger properties springing up around those, around transit. And I think that's very important. I think that you're going to see less people with cars, and you see a lot more people taking transit, and that's good for the environment, and it's going to be good for the economy. And so I think those are the key trends that I sort of see, and naturally mixed use. There's going to be a lot more mixed use development as well.
Well, over the next decade, I think we're going to continue what we're seeing in the marketplace today, which is an intensification of use. We're going to see a lot more mixed use projects, and it's not going to be the typical mixed use that you've seen in the past. So it's not just retail and residential, it's going to be retail, it's going to be office, we're going to see some light industrial uses. It's going to be a more intense combination of uses within projects.